accolades, such as being named one of Atlanta Business Journal's top 25 extraordinary Atlantans, and in 2024, Judge Kirk was the recipient of a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Judge, the Honorable Judge Cassandra Kirk. Representative, State Representative Karen Bennett. Karen L. Bennett is a native of Richmond, Virginia. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Therapy from Howard University, a Master of Science degree in Exercise Physiology from Georgia State University, a Master of Divinity degree from Candler School of Theology at Emory University, and a Doctor of Physical Therapy degree from Alabama State University. In 2012, she was elected to serve in the Georgia General Assembly as State Representative of House District 94, representing citizens in both DeKalb and Gwinnett counties. Representative Bennett serves on the committees of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, Appropriations, Economic Development and Tourism, Health, and Regulated Industries. Representative Bennett has championed healthcare initiatives to include access to services for children with special needs and their families, access for children with sickle cell to receive medical cannabis, and bringing increased awareness to services for breast cancer awareness and early detection. She is currently working on legislation addressing maternal morbidity, especially among African American women, and Medicaid redetermination. Representative Bennett is a life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a life member of the DeKalb NAACP, the Order of Eastern Star, and other civic and professional organizations. She currently serves as a member of the DeKalb Chapter Commission and the Fulton DeKalb Hospital Authority Board of Trustees. She is the mother of 2 adult children. Representative Karen Bennett. Kamia Jackson. Kamia Jackson is an Albany, Georgia native who holds a bachelor's degree in computer information systems with an emphasis in business administration from Albany State University. Ms. Jackson is a former Georgia State representative who defeated an incumbent in the 153rd District in 2018. During her 4-year tenure, she served as Deputy Whip and also served on the Economic Development and Tourism, Defense and Veterans Affairs, State Planning and Community Affairs, and Special Rules Committee. She has more than 10 years of experience in IT management. She has been responsible for budgeting millions of dollars for Fortune 100 companies. Ms. Jackson is an active volunteer who enjoys mentoring young men and women in STEAM and political science. She has held or currently holds leadership positions in several organizations, including Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, Flint River Habitat for Humanity Board of Directors, Leadership Albany, Downtown Development Authority, Georgia Win List, and the League of Women Voters of Georgia. Ms. Jackson is a dedicated member of the Atlanta Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is married to Georgia State Representative Derek Jackson of Georgia House District 68. Please welcome Kamia Jackson. Mayor Jasmine Cobble. Mayor Jasmine Cobble is honored and excited to serve as the mayor of the city of Stonecrest. During her 5.5 years on city council, Mayor Cobble built a reputation for being a strong voice for her constituents while also demanding fiscal responsibility and accountability from the city administration. On June 17, 2022, Mayor Cobble was elected as the second mayor of the city of Stonecrest, and she believes that the future of the city rests in the critical work that lies ahead in rebuilding and reforming Stonecrest. In 2023, Mayor Cobble was reelected for a full 4-year term. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from her beloved alma mater, Albany State University, and a Master of Public Administration with an emphasis in government and nonprofit management from DeVry University. Mayor Cobble is a member of the Albany State University National Alumni Association, also the DeKalb Alumni Chapter, DeKalb Chapter of the NAACP, DeKalb County Democratic Party, DeKalb County Young Democrats, and a member of Alpha Kappa, Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Among other things, professionally, she serves as the President Emeritus of the National Conference of State Fleet Administrators, as an advisory board member for WEX Incorporated, and a member of the National Association of Fleet Administrators. Mayor Cobble and her husband David are the proud parents of one son, and the Cobble family have been residents of Stonecrest, fortunately, formerly called unincorporated Lithonia, for the past 15 years. Mayor Jasmine Cobble. Welcome her. And I know we have someone else who's, oh, I'm getting it. I am excited to, to also introduce Sheila Edwards. Sheila Edwards is a passionate leader who seamlessly blends business acumen with deep commitment to community, a distinguished political strategist, communications professional, and business owner. She is driven by a steadfast belief in the power of politics, advocacy, and collaboration to improve lives. With a career spanning both in public and private sectors, she has held senior level roles across local, state, and federal government, as well as in corporate America. You see her everywhere, actually. Her experience reflects a lifelong dedication to uniting community voices with governmental leadership to advance meaningful change. And in 2022, Georgia Democratic primary election, in that election, she won a statewide race for the Public Service Commission, defeating two challengers without a runoff. Though her campaign was disrupted by a legal challenge to the election process, her candidacy highlighted her deep knowledge of energy policy and commitment to equitable public service. In 2024, she served as interim executive director of the Georgia House Democratic Caucus, where she worked closely with legislators on key policy issues, including reproductive rights, gun safety, and healthcare access for underserved communities. She also directed campaign strategies for both incumbents and new Democratic candidates across the state. She's a proud graduate of Benedict College and HBCU in Columbia, South Carolina, earned her BA in communications as a first-generation college student, and has further honed her leadership skills through executive training at Emory University's Quezada Business School. She's involved in a lot of civic life organizations, and her broad experience, professional, civic, and community involvement have shaped her into a thoughtful, effective leader, equipped to serve and advocate for diverse communities across Georgia. Please welcome Sheila Edwards. One more. Did I miss somebody? Yes. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's good. I did. I already did. Yes. Yes. I think we got everybody. Yes. A round of applause for this dynamic group here. And we got to start where what everybody wants to know. And they want to know why you decided to run. Why? Why, girl, run? Why? So, Sheila, actually, I know you've run for office before. The Public Service Commission is so big. It is such an important role to take that one on when there have been few women to begin with, and few people who weren't on the commission for a long time running, because they have people who've been there for years. Talk about why you wanted to run.
Well, I opened up my utility bill, and it was over $500, and I live alone. And I said, unless there's someone sneaking into my house, opening my refrigerator, turning my lights on, I should not have a $500 bill for my utilities. And I decided in short order to run for the Public Service Commission because of their influence on our utilities. Unfortunately, well, as Donna said, I did win my primary, but unfortunately that race was taken off because there was a legal lawsuit relative to how the Public Service Commissioners are elected. Instead of being elected for your district, the and that just constitutes people that look like us never being elected to that role. And so I took it on, as Donna said, I won my primary, but that came about, and unfortunately, the Republicans decided to leave or the governor decided to leave the Republicans in place. So since 2022, you've seen about a half a dozen rate increases that they've granted Georgia Power. That's jacking up everybody's utility rates. And you know, I can afford my utility rates, but I looked at it from a perspective of families, seniors, veterans, those folks who cannot just, you know, work another rate increase into their family budgets. And like I said, unfortunately, they left them in place, and it's not been a big subject. You know, every once in a while it gets mentioned in the newspapers or on TV, but folks really need to understand the impact that the PSC has on your utilities, on your families, and you have to be vocal about that. We've got a young man, Daniel Blackman, who's decided to put his hat back in the ring, and I urge you, whether you support Daniel or someone else, but definitely look into the Public Service Commission and find out how that impacts you and your families.
All you have to do is open your bill, and actually, if you come to my house, you can hear my husband talk about it. So anyway, thank you for running, and I hope you and others will consider doing that. Mayor Cobble, I think you're next there. Talk a little bit about what made you run.
Sure. Long list, so I'll try to keep it short. But as the city was forming to separate in some way from DeKalb County, that was kind of right around the time, about 2016-ish, when the cityhood movement kind of began. And coming out of college a few years before that, serving as a student government president, I had long tried to figure out what was that in real life. I had advocated for so much as a student, but what career was that? How could I continue to serve the community that I was in? And the cityhood movement came right about 2016. And as I was looking through and listening to kind of some of the reasons why a city would form or why Stonecrest wanted to form, I kind of started to think about, would I be the one that listened to someone else's campaign and had to pick who was the best to represent me, or would I decide that I was the best to represent me? And so after really searching for what was important to me, was to have the right voice at the table, to be representative of not just the folks who say this is a good idea, but for the folks who actually will be impacted by the services that will be provided to those citizens. I said, well, I could sit here and let someone else make decisions, or I can be a part of the decision-making table. And so from that point on, I just kind of jumped right in. I knew no one knew me. I was a 20-some-year-old, just wild and excited about serving and telling people my story, and it worked. It worked I was elected to the city council, and then from that point on, I just really started, as my bio said, really diving into the public policy that was required to create a city, to form a city, and also to be a sustainable city. I had a master's degree in government administration. I still am a state employee. I'm 16 years now a state employee. All I know is public policy. So I knew that my expertise and my ability to relate to people would have an impact. So I immediately started doing that kind of work, and lucky for us, that work paid off. We were able to continue to have a city and now flourish and be the city that we set out to be. So really it was deciding whether I was going to listen to other people's campaigns and decide which one was the best, or jump in the race myself and be at the table to help make decisions where I knew that we would represent most of the community who they were serving. Our median age is 34 in Stonecrest, but no one running was even anywhere near that age group. So making sure that there was just a representative, or that all of those who represented Stonecrest were representative of those who lived there, was important to me.
Yeah, I love these stories. All right, Camilla Jackson, let's hear yours.
So for me, mine came out of more of a
sort of a tragedy in a sense. I mean, not a major tragedy, but in 2017, Albany, Georgia was hit by 2 tornadoes. And during that time frame, I had already been working in the community. As Donna previously mentioned, I was working with the Downtown Development Authority. I was also doing a lot of other things in the community. But when we got hit by those tornadoes, I saw every single elected official in Albany, Georgia, except for mine, the one that was supposed to be serving me. And so I started this complaint campaign of like, okay, where's my representative? Why aren't you here? I mean, we had other commissioners coming by my house, dropping off food, all kinds of things, and never saw my my commissioner. And so I was asked to run, and I did not think at the time that it was something I wanted to do because I have a full-time career in IT. But I thought about it. I was like, you know what? He's not doing what he needs to do for the people in our community, so why not? Well, I did run. I ran against my commissioner. I lost that race, and then a few months later, someone called and said, hey, we really, really need you to run for state rep because we have a Democrat who is a Democrat on paper, but he's a closet Republican, and we've got to get him out of this seat because he is not servicing, again, the people in this community. Now, completely different person, but still same situation. So I was like, okay, well, that's definitely not something I had in mind, but at the same time, I was like, again, he's not doing what he needs to do for our people. So I will run so that I can possibly get him out of this seat. And he had been an incumbent for a while. He had way more money than I had, and he was using that money to buy seats, but that did not work for him. I beat him, and I ran, and I won. So it came out of just not being serviced by the people who were supposed to be representing me. So that's how it happened.
As good a reason as any. Judge Kirk?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the thank you to New Lambda Omega, and then thank you also to the National Coalition for 100 Black Women. My name is Cassandra Kirk. I serve as Chief Magistrate Judge of Fulton County. The reason that I ran is because I had been appointed to the job, and if I did not win that job, I would not have a job. And so for me, it was not a woulda, coulda, shoulda. It was if you want a job and be able to eat, you must run. And so I had been appointed by the governor in 2014 and had the pleasure of having 4 years to be able to sit and shift and move this court the way that I thought it should be moved. And then when election time came in 2018, I decided, or I realized that I needed to run because I really liked being in this position, being able to shape a court. It was a brand new court at the time, and so we are coming on celebrating 10 years now, and so I'm very proud of the work that we have done with this court, but it really is because someone was able to see the people here. But why did I run? The bottom line is I ran because I had to, and so that's it.
That's a good reason, too. Absolutely. All right. Representative Bennett, tell us your story.
Thank you. And again, thank you for having us here again. But I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking your time out on this Thursday evening to come out and actually think that what we have to say is of interest and of importance to you and to all our virtual audience tonight. Thank you for listening in. I believe that the compulsion to run for an elected position is all about your DNA. What is it about you? What qualities or characteristics does one possess to even motivate them to want to run for an elected office? And so as I listened to all of my fellow panelists here today, they touched on each and every one of these qualities. One is you have to care. You have to care about people. You have to care about yourself, your family, your community, but you have to care. And if you go to my website, it's always Karen Cares. That's been one of my motivating mantras. But you have to be concerned about the issues that are impacted by that particular position. And we have several positions represented here tonight. And positions can be on a civic level, the local community, school board is not always a judge, as you see here, or a city council or state representative. There are lots of areas where you could run and become an elected. Even in civic organizations such as New Lambda Omega and 100 Black Women, you have to have a concern for the matters that particular entity will address. And you have to be interested. One of the most boring things is to watch someone in public office not have an interest about the things that matter most to you. Then you also have to have a desire. You can care, you can even be concerned, and you can even be interested. But if you don't have a desire, no one can place that desire inside of you. Oh, you should run because. How many of us have heard that? You should run because. And sometimes you'll go, yeah, that's me. But deep down inside, are you really interested? Or do you just want to run because someone else said, run, girl, run? And then you have to have a commitment, because there are late nights, early mornings, travel across the state, travel across your district, 6 a.m. meetings, and then you have to network, right? You have to be friendly. If you want friends, you have to be friendly. So I think it's all about the DNA, and these are some of the characteristics that one could examine themselves and say, well, do I really care about the school board? Do I really care about state laws? Do I really care about Stonecrest? And do I really care? And if the answer is yes, and you meet all or most of these characteristics, because if you don't see them in yourselves and you have the majority of them, trust me, the others will come. So with time, I've got a story that got me to run. I started going down to the Capitol, advocating for children with special needs to receive adequate, for their therapists to receive adequate reimbursement so we could have some more providers. And I sat there in those committee meetings, and then I became more and more concerned. And Dr. Duggar shaking her head, because she and her predecessors know that I was one of a champion. And I did not go away easily. And someone said one day, you know, you should run for office. And then I said, well, do I care? Am I concerned? Am I interested? And those who have worked with me know that I'm definitely committed. So thank you for the question.
I'm glad you brought up the fact that I'm amazed at the number of lawmakers at the General Assembly who don't seem to care, right? And I think that was one of the shocking things when I started being down there full time, that it's not a lot of them, but there are a few. You think, why are you here? So that part of it is huge. All right, so much, Judge. Let's hear from you, Judge Wright Hill.
Why did I run? Raise your hand if you heard the saying, make your haters your motivators. Y'all heard
Okay.
it? So I've always wanted to be a judge. That was since age 14. I didn't want to be or have a desire to run initially for office. I had worked in juvenile court in 2014, and I loved it. I sat as Judge Pro Temp, and I loved that position. I said, I could see myself doing this all the time. And so I went to Superior Court. Those positions are appointed. And I went to a Superior Court judge who had been on the bench for many years. And I said, so how do you become a juvenile court judge? Like, what is the process, the protocol? And I knew it was by appointment, but, I was asking these questions, and he said, I've been here 20 years. We just reappoint the same ones every time. Every time it's time for a reappointment, we just reappoint the same ones. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, because if we keep doing the same thing we've always been doing, I wouldn't be in the position I am, because if that's the case, slavery would still be in existence. So we can't just go based on, well, that's the way we've always done it. So at that point, he said, why don't you run for office? And I said, no, that's not, I want to be a judge, but that's not me. That was the first time. And so the reappointments were up in 2015. And I applied. They reappointed the same people. Okay, I'll give them that. I had only been in there 1 year. So I waited, and the terms are 4 years. So the next term wouldn't be up till 2019. So I waited, and I served in that position as Judge Pro Temp, but I served doing everything that all the other judges were doing. I knew my job, and I did it well.
and I had the countdown on when it was time to apply. I couldn't wait. And that year, 2019, I happened to be on the Steve Harvey show with a few of my colleagues, Sisters Who Rule. And after that took place, they started drinking the haterade. Well, why is she on there? And what does she do that qualifies her to be on there? Some other individuals, some of the powers that be. So when it was time to, for the reappointments in 2019, remember I had my package ready. I was ready. My resume, just tell me the date, I'm ready. Then I start hearing, you know they hating on you, right? They mad. No, I got experience. I know what I'm doing. I'm good. I submit my information, as do others. And I realized they probably weren't going to select me because the hateration was high. But what disturbed me was, although I had been doing that job for 5 years, although I had more experience than any of the other applicants, I didn't get an interview. I was ready to lay out everything at the interview. I can deal with you, I'm not gonna pick me, but I'm gonna tell you why you should and why I'm qualified. But I didn't get the interview, and those that had no experience got an interview. So now I realize, now this is a little personal. That's when I said, you know what? I'm not going to put this decision in someone else's hands. And so my husband said, why don't you run? That was number 2. And then a couple of my best friends that end up being my campaign managers. Keisha, why don't you just run? Well, that was the 3rd ship. So I said, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. I think I'm going to run. And that's what I did during COVID, during the national pandemic. And I beat the incumbent, and here I am.
All righty. Hateration did it for you. Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Coat, tell us your story.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here today. It's such a blessing to be here in God's house. It's not just a house to, to praise and worship, but it's also a house to fellowship. And I'm just happy and really humbled to be here on this panel. I think I'm the baby of the bunch, but I'm really excited to be here. So just a little bit about my story. Oh, okay. Just a little bit about my story. I've been in public service for 30 years. I'm not retired. I'm still in the Army.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, senior field grade officer in the Army. Now I'm in the Army Reserves, but I'm still serving. And I've oscillated between the military and the corporate sector most of my career. I've served in telecommunications, in fintech space as a senior product leader, developing fintech products. And so, I've always been in public service. Back in 2003, I deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. And as I continued to career progress in my military career, I noticed that there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. And when we started to talk about policy and things of that nature, I wanted to have a voice and I wanted to have an impact. My family is also heavily involved in the community. I have an uncle who was a superdelegate. He's no longer with us, but he was a superdelegate in South Carolina. And so I've always been around the space of community and advocacy. My grandparents as well were really heavily involved in the community. And so I was very passionate about wanting to help people, help individuals. And so you mentioned about caring. I think I care too much. If there's a such thing, I think I might care a little too much. But to be brief, because I know you have to go through a lot of questions, I was going full throttle and ended up having a major life event. And this major life event changed my life. I ended up getting really, really, really sick, almost losing my life. I'm a little fluffy now, but I was very thin. And so I'm thankful for my mom, who's here, who was there during that valley experience. And so in that valley experience, there was something that was pressing on my heart. Jeremiah 8:28. For I know all things work for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. All things work for the good. And that just stayed with me, work for the good. And so I started to notice all these changes happening in the community. I'd become disenchanted by those things happening. And I wasn't sure if I was going to run. But one morning, after I learned how to walk all over again and go through this entire experience, I just had like a jolt. I don't know. You know, it says, many are called, but few are chosen. And so I knew that this was an assignment for me. And this was the start of a new city, the city of Mapleton. And I decided that at 4 o'clock, I was going to go down to the Cobb County office and run for office. They closed at 4:30. I didn't decide until 4:20. And the rest is history.
Oh, my. That is a remarkable story. And what I like is that a lot of you talked about being the first to do it. Like 2 of you, brand new cities. The courage it took to do what you're doing, I just have so much admiration for that. I need to ask, and because I know we're going to have the audience members talking, what does it take? Now I'm going to ask you from this side. What is the biggest challenge you think to actually running? And I don't know if we want to go down down again, or okay, or is there somebody who has? What's the biggest challenge for people who are interested? What should they know? Okay, Representative Bennett.
I didn't know
You're
this at first, but I learned quite early on. In addition to the support of those closest to you, which is family and friends, we do have to raise money to run for office. And one of our former representatives, Calvin Smyrie, used to say, and I don't think it was original, but he said it takes coal to run a train, but it takes gold to run a campaign. And I will share with you my very first campaign 13, 14 years ago. We ran a very successful campaign off of $4,000, $5,000. Camille, don't tell Windless that, because they did not select me as one of their candidates. However, today, it's more than that. But we have to realize that one of the biggest challenges, in addition to getting family and friend support, is raising money.
Yeah. Anybody else? Challenges?
So I would absolutely second that. And so I would say, as a black woman raising money, so I will tell you that the judicial races, people don't realize why they should select a judge and back that campaign. I was running my first race was in 2018. There was a young man that was running out of the cab that had come from a firm. He raised almost $100,000 at the blink of an eye, like probably in 2 events. It took me almost 6 or 8 months to raise $50,000. And so when people are serious about what their benches look like, when people are serious about who it is that is serving them, they will put their dollars behind those individuals. And as I mentioned that, I have a fundraiser that is coming up on May the 8th. So if you have my campaign information, yes, I am plugging myself. Keep Kirk Chief is my Instagram. Please look at it. But I do have a fundraiser coming up, and I'm not running until May 2026. But the fundraising is a big piece, because I will tell you, I run countywide. Vote Builder alone is $2,000. And that's not signs, that's not flyers, that's not any of the other things that you have to put in people's hands in order to make them select you. And so, yes.
What is Vote Builder?
Vote Builder is it's the tool that tells you everybody that has voted, that is a registered voter, that gives you where your super voters are, that tells you people you should be targeting in which districts. And so it is crucial to building a campaign.
Essential piece
yes.
to the process. Sheila.
Yeah, it's a database of all the voters across the state or in your community, and in order to get that information, you have to pay for it. And that's the unfortunate part, if you're a first-time candidate and you're having all of these different expenses coming your direction. But as my other colleagues on the panel said, money is most important. And when I ran in 2022, I called on friends, family, and everyone else, and I was fortunate enough to be able to self-finance. I'm a business owner out of the Atlanta airport, so I was able to finance my campaign. But the most important thing you have to have is confidence in yourself. As the judge said earlier, you're going to have haters. You're going to have haters across the board. And there are haters in the party because they don't want you, they want somebody else. And you have to be able to overcome that and keep your head high and know that you're doing what's needed for the community. When I ran, I didn't get the support of the Democratic Party. I never got a phone call from them, but I won. And they were going to have to deal with me in my general election, but you know, my election got taken off, and instead of the party beating the drum about PSC, they were silent. This was a time when they could have really utilized their voices to maximize why people should be concerned. And so I double back to making sure that you have the confidence that you're not going to let somebody talk you out of running. If this is what you want to do and this is what you're supposed to do in your heart, do not let naysayers come and tell you, well, maybe you should wait. Maybe you should run for something else. Do your homework, figure out what's going on with these different positions, and if you have a love in your heart for that situation, go for it. Because as you've heard on some of the panelists, they've taken on incumbents and won. So don't let anybody talk you out of running if that's what you want to do.
It's interesting you didn't have support for the Democratic Party. You ended up working for them, though. The House, but the
They have Democratic Party, and then it gets one situation. There's different elements, and I ended up working with Representative Bennett over in the House.
Okay.
But the Democratic Party of Georgia is a separate entity.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that. Yes.
I just want to touch on a point real quick on what Commissioner Edwards said about confidence and not having the imposter syndrome, right? So you belong, and if you wait until perfection, you're not going to get there. So it's just important. You know, I'm drinking from a fire hose right now as we're building this city from the ground up. I didn't know everything there was to know about policy and especially at the local level. But you have transferable skills that you can use, and it will benefit, you know, local government, a local government position. So just make sure you don't talk yourself out of it. If it keeps, you know, coming up in your mind, and you keep thinking about it, and you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me. But I do think it's important to, you know, pray about it and then also to act on it, right? So.
Yeah. Is there anything as Black women you think? Well, anything in particular you'd advise Black women in particular in terms of running? Anybody? I'm just curious.
Well, don't everybody speak at the same time, because when I look to the left and when I look to the right, we're all Black women. Hello. These are different and challenging times. I was not an elected office back during the civil rights era, but I hear people talk about it. The challenge, we have to have a network of those who will be supportive, because there will be times where you may cry and wonder, why am I doing this? So I think it's important that we don't hate on each other. I think it's important that we do learn to be supportive of African American women, as these two organizations are, and be very miserly in your criticism, because your criticism can make the difference in the next rising star. And I think that is something that has become more and more near and dear to me, is the hateration. I can deal with the hateration from the opposite side of the aisle, but what really hurts is when that hateration comes from within your circle. So I implore and ask you, please, ma'am, please, miss, be miserly with your criticism. And you don't have to always like somebody or support somebody, but be very careful not to criticize and tear down. That would be one of my little things for tonight.
And we can be our own worst enemy, you know?
I was just going to add to that. Right now, where we are in such a tumultuous political climate, still, no matter what, please go ahead and run if you feel that desire in your heart. Unfortunately, for all of us, except for those, I don't even know what to call them right now, but I normally call them the spawns of Satan. But, but for all of us as black women to see the absolute most qualified ever in the history of the office of President of the United States not win an election, that hurt. But just know that that's not our fault, that's not on us, and we still have to run. It is hard. Just this past weekend, I was with Joy Reid, and she was just saying, she's like, it's hard. And yeah, we all want to rest, but we've still got to run because we're seeing it now, how much is at stake. And it can only get worse if we don't continue to do the work. So if you feel it in your heart, just please, please, please run. And again, witnessing what we witnessed in November is disheartening, but we still got to do it.
I'm glad you talked about that because I worry about the apathy people have because of what happened, that they're not going to want to get involved. They're not going to want to run. They're not going to want to vote because they felt they're so upset about what happened, you know. Go ahead, Sheila.
I want to share this message that black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. And no offense to the men in the room, but we're the ones who are the advocates, we're the ones who are the fighters, we're the ones who are out there churning and doing everything to get ourselves elected, get our black men elected, get our counterparts elected. So we always have to lean into the fact that we're the backbone of this party. And folks are going to question, you know, why you want to run, why this, why that. I can tell you in my own household, my kids are always, why does it always have to be you? Why don't you sit down? Why don't you, you know, and I'm like, if it's not me, then who? And so making sure that you understand that message and you absorb it into your thought process. You're the backbone of what's going on, and as you move forward, if you have any doubt, always remember that. Thank you.
Judge Wright-Hill.
Yes, I just want to speak as a wife and a mother of 4 teenagers. Juggling all those balls in the air, trying to make sure that you are in your right mind, working, getting kids off to school, doing your work, picking up kids, you know. The support system, I think, is really important with your significant other or friends and family, because you can work all day, and then whatever your activities are in the evening, it could be going to various events or campaigning, your family is still there. And so that is one of the challenges, being able to juggle all these balls in the air without dropping.
I want to know whether some of you who've been doing this a while had mentors, and if you did, how did you determine who those mentors were? How did you choose them?
My mentor's at the table, Judge Kirk.
All right then.
And let me just say, because I think we talked about this, it's important to lift as you climb, right? As busy and as knowledgeable as Judge Kirk is, if I call her, she's going to answer the phone. If I send her a text, she's going to send me a message back. If I send her an email, I'm in court, I'll call you back. So I want to make that known. This isn't just for today. I appreciate you, Judge Kirk, for doing that. Because sometimes everyone's not like that. And the only way that we are going to grow and individually and collectively is to be able to lift as we climb. So mentorship is important. Thank you.
Other mentors? Yeah.
And to live to that conversation as well. I didn't come into the campaign with a lot of mentors. I had a strong family support, but I collected many along the way. And I was very intentional about finding that group, kind of similar to what President Bennett said, who was one of my, by the way, mentors, is to find that group immediately. Not to wait, not to think that because you were elected, you now have figured it out. Actually, the campaign is not the hardest part. It feels like it at the time, but the work is actually the hardest part. The balance is the hardest part. So immediately, even if you don't start with a strong or a large number of mentors, to immediately dive into finding that group of folks who will help you, who will lift as they climb, who you can lean on, who you can call, who you can email. Camille is one of them as well for me. We just have an Albany connection, so immediately we're just, I mean, she's a Delta, but other than that. I mean, we just whatever's needed, you know, it's not even a second thought. And to be kind of young in age and in experience in this arena, but yet have people like Camille and Karen who will reach out, and when you call, they'll respond. And then it's your responsibility to do the same for those who are coming up as well. So I have many of those who call, men and women, girls and boys, who will call, and I mentor them because it is important to create that pipeline. But not to be discouraged that if you don't start with a strong group of mentors that you can't get that along the way. I have grown that, and that actually helps you in this arena to really decide that it's important for you to continue to grow and be educated by those who are experienced it before you. So certainly don't be discouraged by that, but do be intentional about creating that group.
May I?
Yes, of course.
May I? I'm in rare form tonight, y'all.
I love it.
Because I'm looking and encouraging from different perspectives. For a long time, I thought I could choose my mentors. And you heard me say earlier, if you want friends, you have to become friendly. And I'm pretty friendly. You think, Donna, I'm pretty friendly?
Absolutely. Yes.
However, I encourage those who have something to give to be sensitive that I think mentors pick their mentees. A mentee doesn't always have to pick their mentor. Will you be my mentor? If you see something in someone and you have a gift or talent or even just a caring spirit, pour into that person. Don't wait for them to come to you. Pour into them. Thank you.
You always have such great advice. Yes.
I just wanted to say briefly, there isn't a
Pick me. Is that what you said? Pick me, pick me.
there isn't a playbook out there on how to build a city, and so I realized that I was experiencing something really unique, and so once I was elected in April of 23, I ended up not knowing anyone at all when I ran, and so I'm just thankful for those in the community who poured into me. In particular, Sheila Edwards was one who tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I know you're going to need some help. Let me give you some guidance and some advice. And I'm just thankful for individuals like Sheila as well as Representative Cummings who, volunteered to help and to guide and to support. And it's appreciative because it's going to take a collective effort. You don't do it alone. And I'm just thankful for that, so I wanted to say that.
So is the key to starting for people who may not know any of you to just find somebody? I mean, how do you, for those who want to get started but don't know where to begin, where do they begin? Where do you start? If you've never done it before and you don't have the connections.
So what I would say is go to a training. There are enough trainings. There are enough trainings for whatever political party you want or for whatever organization. I would say go to a training. I have gone to so many trainings since probably, 2010. Like I have gone to lots and lots of trainings because I knew at some point, actually I thought I was going to run for state rep in the area where I lived with in my first house. That didn't happen, right? But I would say attend trainings. I would say get your family prepared. Get your personal life together, clean your social media. I would say lay a professional foundation for what it is you want to do. People run for offices and they're not really sure what those jobs do. That's not the job for you. So I would say know what the professional foundation is, but you're also going to have to build a campaign infrastructure. The only way you know what that looks like is by attending these trainings. At those trainings, there are people that are going to be campaign managers, there are going to be policy people, there are going to be numbers people. You will need all of those people. You will always need a fundraiser. You will need a treasurer. Please make sure that you are in compliance with whatever the legal and ethical requirements are. You will find that those violations will catch up with you quickly. There are filing requirements. That's something that you will learn at a training. The strategic communication as well as personal development, I would say, attend the training, but then also do the work, because it is part of being in the community, and that's a big part of it. So lay that groundwork as well.
Sheila, I want to ask you a little bit about that too. What would you tell people when they want to get involved?
I say get involved with your community, invest in your community. I go to the council meetings, the commission meetings, the school board meetings. They have a 2 or 3 minute period that they allow you to speak. And go up there with a topic that you want to talk about and allow the community who's watching from home to get to know who you are and what your thought processes are. And it's amazing how many people would come up and say, oh, I saw you, talking at dais on this issue or talking on dais about that issue. And if you're passionate about issues, taxes, whatever it is, be vocal about it, because people will then start to, recognize you as, oh, that's the person that talks about this, that's the person that talks about that. I mean, you think about Viola Davis when she was in DeKalb. She never missed a meeting, and I worked in DeKalb, and she was always there at the dais talking about what was going on with taxes. And she ran and ran until she beat Coach, and the rest is history. So use that opportunity. It's free. And you can use those 3 minutes, practice, write down what you want to talk about and practice it, and just show up every 2 weeks or whenever they meet and become a regular in terms of talking about issues. You've got different people who are in office. If there's somebody that you respect, ask them if you can volunteer with their office or with their campaign, or just be involved. But you have to raise the level of your involvement so that people are starting to recognize you. They're starting to associate you with different issues. My phone rings all the time because people know how passionate I am about this issue or that issue and how I want to be involved in different things. One of the things I did back in 2022, I started a community newspaper called Spotlight South Cobb News. And I just started writing about different things happening in my community. And everybody's like, well, when is the next Spotlight coming out? Because a lot of people don't read the HAC and they don't read MDJ and they don't want to pay for it. My paper is free. And so, do any and everything that can bring attention to yourself, but definitely utilize those moments at these different meetings where you can speak freely and openly, and your community can start to know who you are and know what issues you are involved in. And then when you're ready to run, you don't have to reintroduce yourself because they already know who you are.
I did not know that about Representative Viola Davis. It's good to know. I want to know, go ahead and then I'll ask my question.
So I'm going to do a shameless plug like Judge Kirk.
Please
So
go
I
for
am
it.
the vice chair of Georgia Win List. Georgia Win List is an organization that is dedicated to helping women get elected to the state house and senate across the state of Georgia. And as Judge Kirk stated, in terms of training, we have a training. It's called the Win List Academy. And in that academy, we teach women how to run for office or how to be campaign managers or how to get involved in different aspects of all forms of political advocacy. So just want to plug our academy, but there are others out there, but we're probably the best. So anyway.
And easy to find. I did want to ask you, Mayor of Stonecrest, Mayor Cobble, what surprised, so you were coming in, you're starting up a new city basically. What surprised you the most that you would tell somebody that you are willing to share, that would help somebody not make the same kind of mistakes, to what you learned from that surprising thing?
I'm going to answer that in 2 different ways. for me, what was most surprising was and this is probably nothing to do with a new city, but the second part will. I came in very excited, of course, to start the work, but because I was surrounded by folks who I thought were more experienced than I, and who had just lived life longer than I had, that I would be the one that would be the student. And so I kind of, as strongly as I campaigned that you should choose me because I'm a leader, I still came to the table as a student. And it was absolutely shocking to me that I was completely incorrect in deciding that I would be the student. And it almost, to me,
I'm going to ask you, can you pass that other microphone down to her, please? Thank you. Crackly mics bother me. I'm used to microphones. Sorry.
I kind of really, in a way, disappointed myself for just a half a second because, you know, I had, again, campaigned and, of course, believed that I was the right person for the role, but I still came to the dais being a student. And not saying that you shouldn't be a student of the craft, because you always should, but I expected that other people would teach me what I needed to know, right? And I quickly learned that you are at the table not just to be a student, but to also give your expertise, to give the value you brought to the table, and your voice is just as loud as everyone else's. And so for me, the most shocking thing was to sit at a dais with people who I expected them to be willing to teach me, but instead they were more focused on how to get rid of me. And it was people who look like us. Right? We're a 99.9% African American community, right? I'm thinking to myself, you know, how lucky I am to be representing my community, folks who look like me, surrounded by people who are here to do the same good work that I am, and they're going to mentor me, they're going to teach me things, and we're gonna be this rock star team. And then very quickly, it was, oh, you gotta go. We gotta do stuff to run you out of here. And it was just so shocking to me that I came with that perspective, and it just was not the reality. So that's one part of the question. The other part is, I think that really understand, I think someone, maybe more than one person said this, understanding what the role of that elected office is critical to being successful in the job. It really is, and that's in different levels of government. Local government is much different than state government. We all have common areas, but to know the job of the local government that you were elected for is a big job. And you really have to be intentional about reading zoning codes, understanding what future land use is, understanding what the services you provide are, understanding what legislation is, how to make changes when you see that. Because to expect that someone will just open a book and say, this is how you do it, is the wrong expectation. So it was really, really critical to me as I answer these questions and mentor folks, I tell them, you know, you have to be the expert in the room at everything. Everything that you said you would do for your people, you have to be the subject matter expert because you told them you would represent them the best. And you said that you were the best person to represent their interests. And how dare you step on that dais and you are not prepared to be that person that you told them you would be. And that comes with reading. That comes with asking questions when you read it and you don't understand. That comes with studying your craft. That comes with nobody knowing your city better than you. That comes with sacrifice of time. It comes with so much. So if you're not ready to give all of that, then take some time to get there. Because when you get to the table, it's not the time to sit back and hope that people teach you. You have to be ready because the expectation is that you will jump right in and take that baton and go. And if you are not prepared, they will eat you up alive. You've got to be the one that is ready to go at any moment. And that takes intentionality, that takes time, that takes studying your craft, that takes being the subject matter expert at everything you said you would be for the people you want to represent.
Okay, thank you very much. Judge Kirk, I know you wanted to say something.
I did, thank you. And I know that there are mayors that are creating a city, but please understand that in 2014, when I took office, I was creating the Magistrate Court of Fulton County. It was a new court in a new era, and I was the first appointed chief magistrate judge and then became the first elected chief magistrate judge. That I am right now the person that has the least funding in Fulton County. I have right now a $5.1 million budget. The court next to me has a $16 million court budget, and the court next to them has a $32 million budget. And so when you say about people creating a court, I am creating a court. You all may remember that $780,000 was taken from my budget. That has not been returned. I am currently having 3 staff to run 9 courtrooms. And so when people say, it's good that you're there, what they don't see is that my team is tired, like my judges are tired, my staff is tired, but what we do is we keep fighting on and on. And so to Jasmine's point, Mayor Cobble's point, Sora Cobble, the reason that our court runs the way they do is because, first off, I went to go get not just training about what this is, but training about what it is to be a magistrate judge. Because I could have done, as Judge Wright Hill said, just come in and do what it is you all are used to doing. That's not what I was trained to do. And so I went to get training to figure out what that looks like. And then I realized there were people that were sitting on that bench that did not deserve to sit on that bench based on the way they treated people. I have been paying for that for the last 10 years. But it does not stop us from moving forward, from walking our court into the community. So we are building a court that looks like it respects people because it does. And so this has been a journey. And so when you ask, what is it I am most surprised about? I'm surprised about the fact that the politics takes over and people cannot honor their oaths because of the politics. And so I need you all to be aware of the connections as you look for how all of this happens. Like, I am funded by our Board of Commission. That is the only place that a magistrate court gets funded is locally. I can't get state money. I can't go to the governor. I can't go to the legislature. There's no money there for me. If it doesn't come from the county, it doesn't exist. But again, we are the busiest magistrate court in Georgia. My budget is $5.1 million. It is shameful.
Wow. I have so much admiration for you guys who are willing to do the work that is necessary. And I think there are people out here who want to do that. So I want to open it up to questions. If you have questions for them, this is the opportunity for you to get your questions out. Okay, somebody right here.
Here's a mic.
We want people who are not here, but listening to hear you.
Perfect. Hello?
Okay.
First, thank you so much. Good evening, sorors and panelists. I think you guys answered so many phenomenal questions, and you were absolutely correct that we are a little fatigued and sad about what happened, but I think a lot of us are really charged up about what to do next. And I think you touched on it about your trainings, which I would love for you to repeat so I can jot it down. But what do we do next to combat where we are now? I think that's where I'm personally a little lost. Like, how do we prepare for what's to come? Like, what should we be studying? What board combats what we're about to walk into? I think that's where I'm a little challenged.
So one of the things I would suggest is getting engaged and involved in all the elections that are coming up. Most importantly, the one that's been previously mentioned is the Public Service Commission race. That's on June 17th, and well, for the primary, and then the general is in November. Just getting engaged and involved and finding out what your local elections, what local elections you have on a municipal perspective are, and then, you know, of course, your state and then your national, but just really just plugging into all of the various elections that are going on. And even if you're not necessarily working on someone's campaign, you can be a center of influence for the people around you. You can say, hey, did you know that the Public Service Commission election is coming up in June, and this is what they do. They make sure that we have that. Well, they are supposed to make sure that we don't have these astronomical insurance rates that we have in the state of Georgia, which is one of the highest. I do want to call that out. And then 2, we don't need these high utility bills, especially right now where the economy is. And getting on the phone and talking to your sphere of influence, using your social media platforms to let people know that this election is very important. And also looking at the people who are running in these elections and then making sure that you are helping champion those people who, like Representative Bennett said, care, actually genuinely care, and are not there trying to get in these positions just to pad their pockets.
I'm so glad you mentioned the elections that are coming up, because there are people who probably didn't realize there's a PSC election, or that their municipal elections are coming up very soon. It's May 1st. We're talking June. And it begins with the primaries. You don't wait until the election. And the other fact is that just because it's not a big election year doesn't mean there are not important races taking place that affect you. Okay.
Yeah, I would add that there's a meeting on Saturday. The Democratic Party of Georgia is selecting its next chair, and you should plan to attend. You can't vote, but obviously you would be able to meet a number of people who are elected officials, who are delegates, who are whatever across the state. Get to know those folks, but you have to invest time and energy into the Young Democrats of Georgia, or of Atlanta, Fulton County Democratic Party. I mean, you've got these organizations across the board, and join them, find out their schedules, Google them, meet up with them, and you'll learn a lot, and you'll meet people who can help you. But if you're sitting back and waiting for it to come to you, it's not going to come to you. You have to go out and claim it, and you have to be very intentional about what you're doing.
Tell them where the Democratic Party is meeting.
It's meeting at the, IEW building?
Yeah.
IBEW building off of Palmer, right there.
It's not Pryor. It's between
Pullman?
Central and Pullman?
Pullman,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but you can Google it.
You can see it from the interstate.
Yeah, you can see the big building it's the labor building that they allow the party to utilize. But, come to that meeting. Like I said, you'll have people from across the state that will be there. And, the other question, I think.
Training.
Yeah. I think there was a question about mentors. My mentor was Maynard Jackson, and I was very fortunate enough to be able to work with him on a number of different projects. Another was Judge Thelma White Cummings Moore, the late judge, who was very influential in my life in terms of giving me a lot of directions and information. So if you see somebody that you admire, introduce yourself to them and ask them if they could be a mentor to you. And I mean, I would assume that a lot of folks on this panel are getting calls from people asking them to mentor folks. So, just put yourself out there and ask. Be intentional.
Somebody did ask, she did ask about where to find the training, so. Okay. All right, I know we have some more questions. Oh, hello.
Hi, everybody. My name is Diana. I just want to thank both the Coalition of 100 Black Women and New Lambda Omega chapter of Kappa Alpha Sorority for putting this on. And thank you all for such an engaging conversation. I'm trying not to be too loud, so I'm going to keep my voice kind of mellow. My question is, I'm not interested in running. At least I don't think I am. I'm not interested in running. What I am interested in is making sure that the constituency gets the information. It's great that we have such a great group here today, but there's so many people that have no idea what's going on. A lot of people don't know what the PSC does. A lot of people don't know that you're the youngest mayor to be elected in the creation of the city of Lithonia, and congratulations to you. What can we do to make sure our community knows what to do, what is going on, and when it's going on? Because it's great. I knew there was an election coming up May 3rd for the chair of the party, but I know a lot of people didn't. And other than me having that opportunity to share that, what more can we do? How can we organize this a little bit better, or a little bit greater? Not better, but greater.
I'm glad you asked. I didn't, for the sake of time, I was going to be quiet following the last question, but I'm glad you asked because as we sit here, we are among your Public Policy Committee members. And for some of you who may not have known that June the 17th is an election, we all have the opportunity to do Zoom, social media. Doesn't take long, President Duggar, to get her committee up and running and do a Zoom to educate. So even in this room right now, there's a snowball opportunity here to just get up, make up your mind. It doesn't have to always be somebody else's idea. I'm encouraging each and every leader here today to make that happen, because as you say, there are a lot of people we may know, but there are a lot of people who don't know that that election is coming up and how important it is. So we can get a Zoom up rather quickly. Information, education, registration, and mobilization. We do that well. However, based on the last election, I don't know about you, but the constituents, the people sent us a message. They sent a loud, resounding message that white supremacy is not dead. Let me put it differently. White supremacy and racism is still alive. And so regardless of how many people, every organization in this room registered, we've got to do even better. You said, well, we did a great job. We got out and we did all we can. Well, we've got to do even more, and we've got to take that challenge. And it can start right now tonight by planning a Zoom or a webinar or whatever you can to tell as many people as you can about the upcoming election, and then continue to snowball and get more information out over the summer and in the fall. We cannot let up. This is the time for us to amp up. Thank you.
We love when she gets fired up. I love it. I love it. Other questions? Anybody? Are we good? They did a great job, didn't they? They were amazing. Don't you want to be each one of them? I want to be each one of you, because you're all amazing. You're all incredible. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. I learned so much from each one of you, and thank you for what you're doing. Sheila?
Donna, I just want to add, for those of you who read the newspapers, you see the headlines, Donald Trump's numbers are down, but it's worse for Democrats. And that's very disheartening when you read it. And I'm like, who are they polling? Who are they talking to? They had an article today about the election on Saturday, and they said Charlie Bailey's the front runner. I'm like, well, who told you that? You know? And they don't even mention the black women that are running. And I sent the, I got pissed off. I sent the writer an email.
Good.
And I'm like, why won't you give, the rest of these people some recognition? And who told you Charlie Bailey was the front runner? I like Charlie, but I'm supporting the black female, because again, we are the backbone of this thing. But you already have people, the status quo, they want to keep these folks in place, keep people that they can control in place, and don't believe the headlines. Don't believe the headlines, because it's tainted to dissuade you from being involved, being interested, or whatever else. We came out of 2024 after the election as if we were hit with, the zombie apocalypse. And we're walking around trying to figure out, well, what happens now? Well, what happens now is what you're going to do. What are you going to do? Look in the mirror and see what you can do to effectuate change. Thank you.
All right. Love it.
And that actually concludes our program. We could probably stay up here all night, but I know our panelists are judge is saying no, so we have to go with what the judge says. I am so happy that all of you came. I am Cynthia Bird Turner, and I am the chair of the Advocate for Social Justice Committee, and I'm going to get to that. Yes, I am. And I'm a member of Nu Lambda Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And you've already met my president, but I do want to recognize that I have my two co-chairs who are here, Tara Woods and Robbie Huff. I don't think Robbie's left. Yes, they're both here, supporting this, because they also have a huge interest in what's going on. And I will put in a plug for Stonecrest and my mayor, who is awesome. And she also has her assistant here, and she's pretty awesome too, because that's why she showed up today. So thank you very much for that. I would also like to recognize my committee members who are here. So if all my committee, if you could just stand up. Some of them are cross. Yes, thank you so much. they are a very hard-working committee, and we were speaking to what happened in 2024. We were pretty bummed out on what happened, but we have regrouped, and we will make sure that things look a little bit different when we go into the next election. But I do want to thank all of you on the panel. You were awesome. And again, I could sit here and just listen to your stories and listen to your stories and listen to your stories. But I do know that you do want to go home. So, but it is so crucial that we have individuals, especially women, who are so underrepresented in offices around the country, to step up and help the country to remain one that that supports the people and the ideals of democracy. We are a country of 347 million people as of 2025. And as of 2016, the female population was 162, I like statistics, 162 million. And most of the decisions that affect those 162 million are made by men who may have no clue, sorry to the men who are here, but no clue about what our true needs are. So again, thank you so much to the panel for being here and speaking to the audience and letting them know how important. And also thank you for navigating your way every day with what you do, because it's important. And I know a lot of times you may not feel that you're getting the support that you absolutely need, but there are people who do support you. So thank you again for that hard work that you're doing. And I want to thank our moderator, our award-winning journalist, who continues to always impress us and provide insights into today's decision makers. So thank you so much for all the work that you do. And we also appreciate that the Reverend John D. Foster, who's the senior pastor here at Big Bethel, has allowed us to come back in once again this year. And Big Bethel continues the legacy of promoting important community events. So we thank you so much. And then I want to thank Reverend Jamise Buford, who is my counselor in public policy at the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, and for continuing our partnership. So thank you so much. I have enjoyed every step of the journey. And I'm going to let you also recognize a few other people who are here.
Okay, stay close, Cynthia, real quick. So can I tell you all how we met real quick, because it has a lot to do with this situation right here. So I was at the Capitol last year, and I was hand delivering some advocacy letters that were written and signed by many of our members. And I got on the elevator with Cynthia, come here, Cynthia, and she was getting up the elevator too. And I was just like, oh, look at that nice old lady. So we got on, and it was like, we went all the way to the 4th floor together. And it was like, oh, look at, I mean, we weren't talking because we didn't know each other. And then I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to the same suite I am. And so she went in first, and I went in. And I was going to see Representative Cummings and Representative Bennett, but she was in there with Representative Bennett, and we started talking. And I was like, yeah, you know, we just, you know, friends first. But then we realized that we were working on this together because we had been texting back and forth, but we had not seen each other. So it's just a powerful public policy position, no happenstances. And so we met each other like that, even though we were going to be working together, and here we are again. So Cynthia, thank you for being the best co-chair that I could ever have on this effort for Alpha, Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. My favorite AKA, besides my auntie. So I just want you to know this is a joint partnership, and it's really easy to work with people who are just value the power of public policy. So Cynthia, thank you again. I do want to recognize my mighty powerful public policy committee co-chairs, Kiana McCants, Amisha Robinson, please rest to your feet, and the powerful public policy committee you stand up to, our first vice president, Sanquinetta Dover, who you heard from earlier. Those of you all who do a Rose Kimmer, I can't believe you're not standing up, but we are thrilled to pieces to be able to do this. And we didn't just do it one time, this is 6. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the best moderator in the whole wide world to come back next year if your schedule permits. Okay, no, it's fine. We gave everybody grace for time to come to get us started. But thank you so much for being here. And I've watched you. I'm from Atlanta. A lot of people can't say that. So Maynard Jackson, I didn't know him, but he was the only person that looked like my granddad on TV. So I was all in. I mean, he is just, his legacy lives on. But I would watch you all the time. And so I look up to a lot of you all, right? And a lot of us have been touched. I want to call Mr. Jones. Where are you? Ed Jones, come up here. So Mr. Jones runs the entire Big Bethel sanctuary parking lot. We have a small token. Yes. Thank you so much. He is the easiest person in the whole wide world to work with. We have something for you. You surprised, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, good. And we met and talked on the phone when we decided to do this, and so I'm asking you again, can we come back again? Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. And Miss Phyllis, the lady who is behind all, is streaming. We are live streaming because of Phyllis, so we do have something for you. I don't know if y'all saw her bring the big camera down there. She's upstairs in the booth.
So, Ms. Phyllis, we will give this to Mr. Jones for you. Make sure you get it from him, okay?
Yeah, so she's giving us a thumbs up. But she, behind everything is a what? Black woman. So she's right. Phyllis is running everything up there. And go ahead.
And let me just, and Mr. Jones, we also want to give this to Big Bethel AME Church. So if you would please share it with Reverend Foster. And
Is it made out to Big Bethel?
actually, it is made out to Big Bethel, so.
Oh my gosh. Listen, we can't do much without partners. So thank you. And you know what you're getting to Cash App. Okay, listen. We are done. We are grateful. We have thanked you have come. There are some snacks downstairs. We cannot bring them in the sanctuary. Groves of snacks. Take one for your drive home. We have water. And the panelists, please come forward, and also our moderator to take pictures.
And Mr. Jones also wanted to.
Oh, Mr. Jones, please.
Good evening, everyone. You do know you're in the church that has housed Mandela. They tell me William Taft. I wasn't around then. But the reason I stood up here, Big Bethel puts on a play every year called Heaven Bound. This would be the 93rd production of Heaven Bound. However, had it not been for the pandemic, it would have been the 95th consecutive year. We have people who come to this place who have been to this play 50 years. So it is done the second weekend in November. My dates are not in my head right now, but please put that on your calendar. It is a morality play of how you get to the pearly gates of heaven. So please stay tuned and look at social media, and we will definitely get that information out to you. 93 years.
So again, thank you, everyone. And as Denise has said, please do go downstairs. And we do have pictures before you leave. So if everybody could come up so we can get those quick pictures. Thank you.
And ladies, I'd like to share some of our handouts with you all if you